Hello Multiverse, welcome to Omniverse Gamers. My name is Damien Bizzaio. This video is going to talk about a one-shot that anyone can run really simply with really low prep, and it's a really good one-shot for a new DM or somebody who just wants to do something different for a day. This is a simple, very contained one-shot, but it also has a lot of choices and a lot of player interaction, and there's a lot of moldability to it where you can make this a lot of different things or insert it into different campaigns. But for a new DM who wants to do a new adventure and doesn't want to do a lot, doesn't really know a lot about what's going on in D&D, this is a very easy thing to run. You can use any monsters you want. You can pretty much add anything you want to it, but it also is, you don't have to do a lot. It's a very simple, contained world. So it's kind of based off, if you watch Guardians of the Galaxy, the collector, the guy that had all the stuff, and Howard the Duck was in there and all these specimens. So it's basically called Escape from the Collector's Dungeon, and the point is the players all start as inside of those cages. They are an exhibit in this dungeon of this mage that, I call them collector. Obviously I'm not trying to sell this or anything, so I'm not, you can call it collector, you can call it whatever you want. I just had the wizard, but in my mind I call it the Escape the Collector's Dungeon. And like a little bit of it's influenced by Baldur's Gate when you start off in the cages and you have to get out from there. It's there's kind of a mixture of those two things. In my head was so every year there's a day called RPG Day, National RPG Day, and the whole point is to get new players into RPG and stuff, into tabletops and different things. Not necessarily only Dungeons and Dragons, but other things. But I like to go to the game store and run games for people, new people, and regular people in the community that don't know where to play. Like we just have a day, hey, come down and play D&D with us. So I needed to. This was probably my second year doing it, I think, at the time. So I needed a game. I wanted to do a game where anybody could just show up and start playing. We could play all day without a lot of logistics, like no leveling up. Like somebody could just show up late, because I did this for 10 hours. So over the day, different people showed up and wanted to play, and I wanted it to be quick for them to get in. So the point of the cages is that they're in this little maze of these cages, and when a new player comes, they can just be literally, as soon as they're ready to go, sit down and be in one of the cages. So the players can, that guy's now breaking free, and that new player can just join in the game. And so this game went on for 10 hours. Well, we broke for lunch for like an hour, not quite an hour and a half, but pretty much the game went on for 8.5 hours all day. And I think over time we had 10 different players. People came and went, and we had a core group of 4 we got up to 7 at one point at the table. So it really varied how many players we had at the table. So if you were to do this game over a couple sessions, which you could do a bigger version of this over a couple sessions, the same concept would work, and people could come in and out, and it wouldn't matter who's playing, or there's ways to change the number of people in this game. Anyway, like I said, it was a simple setup. I did the map myself in my head as I went, but I have in Dungeon Painter Studio, I've drawn out a little map. I'll add it to the Reddit. I'm gonna write this whole thing up, and I'm gonna do a Reddit post to Reddit and cross post and all that stuff. So this is all be spelled out for you guys. So like I said, super low prep. It's kind of a looter dungeon. So we didn't level up at all. I started at second level. You can start at any level you want, and you can change the parameters of this anyway. But the point of doing it over the course of RPG Day was I didn't want to spend time leveling up, and the whole point was to get new players into the game. So it has to be low level. At third level, there's a lot of choices and a lot of mechanics kick in, and it's kind of the coolest time to have your character. And I agree, I do normally like to start at third level or higher, but because they're noobs and they're trying to learn the mechanics, it's better if you don't know the mechanics of D&D and you're playing new. Don't start low. Learn the mechanics, learn how to DM, learn how to deal with situations first before you add the other level of complexity that third level is. Stay lower than that. But you can do this. You can do this up to. It's Collector's Dungeon. You could have dragons in these cages. You can do whatever you want. You can mold this. That's what I mean. This whole game can expand if you needed to. But anyway, for new DMs, second level is the way to go. I actually had at the shop. We had characters ready to go. We had like 2 of every class ready to go, because the RPG Day. The whole point was, hey, how do we want to come play D&D? Come here. Here's a guy. Name him. Go. Like it was that. Or you could have your own. You could sit there. There was another guy there. If they wanted to make their own new one, their own by themselves. Like, well, this guy will help you make your own, or you can just take this guy and jump in the game. That's up to you. How you want to. Some people want to learn more before they play. Some people like to just watch and see. Some people just want to be like, hey, I just want to swing a sword and roll some dice. So this game can facilitate any kind of player, that's why it's good for new players. Like I said, here's the map. Super simple. I started them down in this corner, so you can see I have 10 cages. This is where spots for 10 cages can be. I happen to have, I think we started with 4 people when we first started, and I got there at 12. Well, I got there a little early, but when people started showing up at 12 p.m. was when RPG Day started. So it was 4 people to start. I had 4 cages. I had a room of 6 cages, and the 4 of them were in 4 of them, and there was 2 other, creatures, alien creatures, and I tried to make them as scary as possible so they didn't want to interact with them. And then they were like frozen in this like carbonite glass like stuff. You know what I mean? There was a big explosion. Something happened. There was another big explosion, and like the cracks started appearing in their things. You know what I mean? I had them all roll strength saving throws. Whoever got the highest was the first one to start being able to like wiggle out of their little cage, and like the glass, like the gel or whatever magical force that was holding them kind of started to get brittle and like start to crack, and like when you smash a car window and it's all those little beads, it kind of started to fade and turn into these little beads and fell out. So the strongest one is the first one to be able to like wiggle and get his mouth working, and you go in the order of everybody's strength check, and that's who gets out first, and then you have them describe themselves to each other so they know what they're all looking at, you know, and that gives them a chance to, you know, describe themselves without any action. You know what I mean? So they're wiggling and trying to like struggle and get out slowly. It's slowly, and you're describing the things, the magic that's holding everything's kind of fading, and you know things are deteriorating in this place. Whatever's been holding this place together is getting like weakened, like a brown out, like the lights are going dim and coming back, and you know. So in this room is just a bunch of glasses and two doors, a door on either side and a corridor down the middle. Every now and then the goblin they could, so they're frozen in this the whole time. They're specimens, but they can see straight out. So they every once in a while, however long they've been here, they can decide their backstory and why they're a specimen and all that stuff. That's what's cool about it. Every once in a while, this little goblin will come in and look at. There's like a little. It's almost like a health bar thing, like a life support thing that he comes in and looks at, and he does some things, and he does. You can see him. They can see him doing it to the other people in the room every now and then. This happens, you know, however long they've been here. So they're used to this. They've seen these little goblins before. And these goblins have all kinds of stuff hanging from them and like cloaks, and they're very stocked with magic items. So now, flash forward to the current thing, they're breaking free. The door on the east side bursts open, and the little goblin that they've seen 3 or 4 different goblins over the time. They've actually just one tall guy they've seen every now and then too. I just kind of foreshadowed that and whatever. So the goblin comes running into the room, and right behind him is they were second level, so I just used a panther, a really big, meaty, like, you know, panther that just kind of and just jumped on the goblin and just started eating on him right in front of them, while they're still breaking apart, and some of their heads free, and some of their body parts are starting to get free from this, you know, the carbonite, whatever they are in. So they're kind of vulnerable right now. They can't defend themselves. So as this panther comes in and just starts eating the goblin, they're just like, holy crap, and they just all kind of freeze and try to pretend they're not, you know. And it's just scary. It's just a foreshadowing thing. And the panther has his way with the goblin, leaves all the magic items and all the stuff that's on the goblin, and he goes back through the doorway to the east. And the doorway kind of closes, but it doesn't close all the way, so it's a little open. So, you know, I have them roll strength checks again. The whole room shakes, and things happen. A little more of their things come out. And then now they get to the point where they can talk. They can't get out, but their faces are free, and now they can talk to each other. And I let them interact, and I let them take over for a while, and they just kind of, whoa. And I let them, really much, you just let them role play as long as they want. And then when it tries to get quiet, or if anytime you think you need to add something to it, have them roll strength save. If more of them comes out, you know. And then eventually they will get free of their glass. All of them, all the people, whoever, you could have up to 10 in this first room. You could do more. Obviously, you make a bigger room. But this map that I drew, it's up to 10. If you're starting with more than 10, you're probably not if you're a new DM, don't do that. Basically, that's all I'm saying. So whatever number you have, just describe other things in those 10K. Just open the monster manual and pick something that's in there that can fit. And that's what's in there. And then it's frozen, and they're kind of, maybe like make their cages still frozen. That way they don't have to worry about interacting with them, because they can't break the whole thing is to have the threat there, but not have to be complex and have to deal with 7 different options. And at this stage, you just want them to be, you know, frozen. They get out, they get free, and they're like, whoa, maybe the threat of one of the scariest monsters you pick is starting to melt, so they know there's a time factor. They can't just stay here and hang out. This thing is going to eventually come out. And if they want to hang out and fight that thing, well, we're just going to take it out and wait and fight it. And that's what we're going to do first. Let that happen. There's your first encounter right there. You fight that monster. Try not to wake up the panther that's in the other room, or wherever the panther went. Like they should not want to engage. They should be smart enough to not engage. But if they're new players and they don't really know, they're like, well, you know, however you want to work. So now the players have a choice. They have a door that's kind of open where they know the panther went, or they have this closed door in the west. I mean, they can go, if they go over to the panther one, I had them roll a perception check, and they could hear the panther sleeping in there. So the panther ate. He had enough to eat. So they could probably go in there. They might be able to sneak past the panther. They might not. That's up to them to go try. That's a whole encounter on its own. And my players went the other way, and I wanted them to go the other way. But if they went this way, this whole game is designed in a circle, and there's limits. There's a story slash exposition, I want to say, reason why they can't leave the area, and it becomes apparent when they realize why. It seems organic. They don't want to leave the area that they can't leave, and the one place they do want to go, they have to solve the puzzle to go to. And the other way that they could go away is there's a big deterrent there, which we'll get into. So if they go the Panther way, let them go the Panther way. Same thing. Everything I'm going to describe is going to be the same. So it doesn't matter where they go. As they're going through the corridors, anywhere you want on this map, you can have monsters being free. So you can have as many encounters as you want. Usually you talk to your new players ahead of time and be like, how do you guys want to fight a lot? Do you guys want to interact? Or you can just kind of slowly let them choose that as you play. Don't force them into combat. Just be like, oh, this monster walks by the corridor. And they can choose to hide from it or try to, you know what I mean? They don't force all of the fights. But then force some fights like, oh, this thing's hungry, it's coming at you, it's been trapped for, and now it's coming at you. Sometimes, but don't always make them fight. Give them choices, basically, because there's all kinds of corridors and things. Same thing for NPCs. There's 3 goblins in this area, and there's one tall guy that's on the goblin, in the room on the goblin. I gave them, like, ridiculous magic items, because there's no leveling up in this game, because I ran it for 8 hours. I didn't want to waste an hour of play teaching noobs how to level up to 3. That was not the point of the game. You don't want to throw new people at all the math. It's just about the fun. When they learn about the fun of D&D, it's like, wow, this game's really cool. Then, on your actual real first campaign, you teach them all the stuff about, third level and characters and choices and subclasses and all that. You don't need to throw new people into that. You don't need to, or if you're just going to run a one shot for a day, you don't want to deal with logistics. So, literally, I just had magic items and like ridiculous magic items that were totally broken, because it's a one shot. It's not going to matter. They're not going to break anything, because the goblins work for this really high-powered collecting wizard, so it makes sense he has everything. These three little goblins and this one tall Aasimar have to maintain all these specimens and all these things. And there's one big giant worm thing that's the big boss, quote-unquote big mini-boss, that they have to be able to defend them. If these cages do break, and when they bring new specimens in, they have to be able to defend themselves. So they have all these magic items that are just ridiculous. Like, the goblin literally drops more things than he could ever carry, but it's a suspension of disbelief, because they work for the wizard and they can do whatever they want. And plus, these magic items, some of the magic items simulate level up abilities that third level characters would have, like fighters and bards. So it's a way for over the night we can progress and sort of level up our power levels, but we're not actually logistically leveling up our characters. So you're just throwing, every time they take a goblin down or find a goblin body, they are just the magic item. It was ridiculous. I give them like 15 magic items, and between the 4 to 7 people that were involved with each encounter, and they were just like, what the hell? And like, yeah, this guy worked for a wizard. He's got a lot of stuff. So wherever they go in this catacomb, it doesn't matter, because anytime they try to go north, when they see the corridor north, it's a big open corridor, and this big massive worm will come down right down the line, like the massive thing, like the whole wall is just the worm, and they'll hear a bang. That's the bang. It's this worm coming, bang, and the worm will slowly retract. And if they go down to look down the hall, they'll see to the east, way down at the east, is opened up this big massive chamber with a bunch of sand in it, where this worm specimen was being kept, but his doorway is now not there. There's like a magical door that used to keep him in this pit, and it's gone because the magic has been fading. So no matter where they want to go, if they try to go north, this worm will come down. And if they actually get into the corridor, as soon as they step into the corridor, the worm comes down fast. And they do get a reaction. I give them a reaction to try to jump forward out if they want to try to pass the other side, or to just back away. And if they try to jump forward, they're not going to, and they're not, if they haven't run, if they're just, take one step, then they want to jump 15 feet, 20 feet would have to be. And that's a tough athletics check for a lot of people. So hopefully you have to kind of, like, this worm's coming at you, you might make that jump, but you don't have a lot of momentum, or you can just back up. We give them that choice every time. And then when the worm comes down, you just kind of leave it there for a while. So they just like, whoa, and then he slowly backs up, retracts. So they can attack it if they want, and they can do damage to it, and it'll get pissed. And if they do damage to it, it'll back up and stop right where they are, and then start fighting them. If they don't do damage to it, it'll just back up slowly back to its lair. But then as they come back out, it's gonna boom again. Now, this is how we railroad without railroading. So I'm giving them a barrier, but they don't see it as like, oh, you just can't. I'm not just saying, oh, you can't go north. There's no reason you can't go that way, because I don't have anything ready for you to go that way. Which I do. If they do make that jump, there is things on the other side. Good luck to them. Because then now the party, whoever did that, is going to be separated from the party by this worm because they don't want to jump. The worm's going to keep coming down every time, and now they're going to have to fight. So they're going to want to come back. You make it so they want to come back, basically. But you make it so it's narrative, so they make that choice because they don't want to deal with this big worm. So as they're exploring, they will eventually find this doorway down in the south. No matter where they go, they're going to get kind of twisted around to find this doorway in the center. And it's this big, massive circular door that doesn't look like anything else around the area. And on the goblins, also with the magic items, are these little keys. They're keys with weird symbols on them. They're like little circles. They're like keys, but instead of a flat key, like the back of it's like a mushroom almost, almost like a shape of a mushroom. So if they hold it like so, and they push it in, it's like a key of something. It's got a symbol on it. So either they'll find these keys and they'll be like, well, there's a door somewhere, or they'll find the door first. Well, they're going to find one key on the first goblin, assuming they loot it, which they should loot that. But they're going to find a door that has all four of the symbols of these keys are on this door. So two of the symbols are at like kind of or normal door handle level, we'll say, and then one of them's on the ground, and there's another keyhole that's way higher than a goblin could get to. Like there's no way a goblin would be able to get to that high keychain. And you notice that the three keys they find on the three goblins that work for around wherever you want to put these goblins. That's what's great about this game. Wherever they go, whatever they interact with, whatever monsters you give them, whatever NPCs you want to give them. There's other people that can be friendlies that come out of these. If you want to have more NPCs, you want to have a more narrative role-playing like thing, you can add more NPCs. I didn't have a lot of NPCs because I wanted the players to, do their own thing. But one of the goblins was locked himself in the tool closet so they could talk to him. The other goblin they found dead, and the other one they had to actually fight that goblin to get his stuff. So they eventually got the three keys, and they're like, man, there's got to be another key somewhere. It's got to be some big thing. So the other worker is an Aasimar. He's really tall, so whenever the worm comes down, when he retracts, if they're watching, if they're looking, if they're seeing his face when he retracts, they get a perception check. And if it's I don't remember what I set it at. I think it was 18 start. And if they pass the perception check, they could see the big like a skeleton of a big tall guy, like kind of like broken into the. It's stuck into the teeth of some of the worm. It's been chewed away, but it's still kind of stuck there, like in its teeth. The bones and the amulet around his neck has the key. The other key, the key that goes to the higher end, they don't know that, but they assume they have the other three. Eventually, they'll be like, "Where's the other key?" It's on the tall guy. There's a tall guy stuck in the worm's teeth, dead, but his amulet's on the worm teeth. And then they'll be like, even if they see that earlier, they'll be like, "Oh, what's that?" There's a guy with whatever. And then they'll realize, we need to get that key from the worm's face. So they realize at a certain point, to get out of here, they're gonna have to fight this worm. So depending on how you want to, you can do this, fight a bunch of monsters, let them rest. There's plenty of places they can rest in this world. There's plenty of maps. There's little rooms. Like I said, I had a tool room. I had a room where the goblins could rest, like a little break room, and I had a room with like a bunch of like tools basically for food. When the creature first came, they had to feed him and get him to the right. They wanted to get him to the right health. Then they put him in their little carbonite thing, so they had a little bit of food and stuff like that. And there was one room where it just had a list. It was just like a logistics room where about all the list of all the things collected in the dungeon. And when they want to ask for specifics, they're like, "Well, what's in this dungeon? We want to know everything." You literally just hand them the monster manual or Mordecai's Tomb of Foes. Be like, "Yeah, this is what he's got. He's got everything is in this dungeon. And if you want to go through it one by one, you're going to be here a while." And so they can rest in these rooms if you want to let them up. And if you throw as many monsters as you want at them, depending on how much time you're going to play it, 3 hours, 10 hours, it doesn't matter. A couple sessions, it doesn't matter how long you play this game. You can stretch it out as long as you want. Eventually, they're going to have to get that thing out of the worm. They may find an ingenious way to get it with a lasso or make that really hard because the worm can't come in to the caverns. You can see the worm can only go down. It's too big to turn down the thing. But it can move and it can turn. You can give it like a spit attack if you want to be able to hit ranged people. But it was more about just the fear of it. The worm can come down the corridor, but now that once they know they need to fight the worm can retract into his lair where it's a bunch of sand. If they go fight it in the sand, he's gonna be underground and wrapping around and he has a lot of advantages to fight them in the sand. So what the group that I played this with, they decided because they knew every time they got in the corridor it was going to come down and hit them. So their goal was to antagonize it, get in strategic positions, and as the thing came down, they all started hitting it. And then as it retracted, they hit it, and they did try to get they tried some various grappling hooks and things and mage hand to try to get the thing out, but it was too solidly stuck in the bunch of teeth that the worm had. If you see Dune, the thing's got a bunch of teeth, and the guy was like stuck up in it, So they had to kill this thing in order to get, they didn't have to. Like if if the mage hand would have rolled a good enough athletics, I mean, it was just too much pressure, and you know what I mean. But if let them do it. If they do it, they still got to get out of here. You know what I mean? So you can always put, even if they, so say they find a way, say you want to have a big epic battle at the end, and the worm's supposed to be it, but they find some way to do it without fighting this worm. They can say they extract that. You just have it when they open the door, on the other side of the door, or right after the door when they go back to the door. We got all the keys, let's go back to the door. In front of the door is sleeping some new big monster bad that you want them to fight. So now that's their big bad. So it doesn't matter. The worm is really just window dressing if they don't, and if they go beyond north, they're just going to find more cages, more catacombs, more things to fight. They can just go on. You can go endlessly around, but back to this door that they found originally is where they have to go to put the keys to get out. There's no other way to get out of this part of the collection. I'd like to say that was a pretty thorough explanation of Escape the Collector's Dungeon one-shot. Like I said, I'm going to put this in a Reddit post. I'm going to write this all out for you guys. Now, as you notice, I didn't give you any specific monsters or any specific levels. This is not a module where you're just going to go through and do what I say. This is a framework. It's the structure. So you can add anything you want to this. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what you put in the cages. It's whatever you want your players to fight. And then if you watch my other videos and show you how you can make monsters have their own motivations, so the monsters may not want to fight. Some monsters might want to run away. Some might want to attack because they're hungry. Some might be able to be negotiated with. That's up to you how you want to run your game. That's the whole point of this. Is it's so modular and simple to mix and match. And like I said, people can join at any time, just right into the game. So you can have a session. Say your first session ever, you want to play with two of your friends. Run this, two of them. Then like the next Saturday, a couple later, they were like, "Oh my god, that was so fun! We got to get more people." And then you have 5 people. Now you can, though the people that were already in the dungeon can still be, you can stop wherever you stopped, and then they start from there. Maybe they rested, whatever. The next person so as they go out, the next cage they encounter is the new people. You just add, and like I said, the magic items, you can literally throw any kind of magic item you want at people. Give them the craziest broken stuff in the world. And I gave a magic missile wand that you could shoot. You didn't have to shoot them one at a time. You could shoot 7 magic missile spells, full cast magic missile spells. It was 21 missiles they shot at the end. That's how they ended up killing the worm at the end. It was like the 1,000 points of light. They used that magic missile. But I was just dumping magic items on them. I think I had 50 or 60 magic items I had prepped. Probably close to 100. It was a lot. I mean, it was ridiculous. I took every magic item I ever made from any game I had, and I just printed them out. Because I keep track of them in Excel and stuff like that. If you don't want to do that, you can just tell people. You can just print your own out from just take copies of the Dungeon Master book or whatever and just literally hand them out. That's a good thing for you as a new DM. You're going to be like, oh, I don't know how magic items work. You're going to find out. Maybe read it first and be like, oh, I don't know about that. If it's something that sounds too complex for you as a new DM, don't use it. Use like, this magic item sounds, I can handle that. Not in a normal game, maybe not, because I don't know how that's going to act. Somebody at 10th level could exploit this weapon, but tonight in this one shot, or the next 3 sessions in this one shot, it doesn't matter if they have a Vorpal sword that can just slice things in half. Who cares? The game's going to end when it ends. Just throw another monster at them, have another window crack. You know what I mean? You just keep going. So I hope that was interesting. I hope that was helpful to see you guys how to get to a one-shot, how to have a modular one-shot that you can just add anything to. And you don't need a lot of prep for this. You just got to pick your monsters, pick your theme. It doesn't matter, collector or whatever. It could be any... There can be any lore to it. The people in the cages can be for any reason, so that's up to you, or no reason. We're just here. We just play. We're just going to do the mechanics and fight through the corridors, and you know what I mean. There's a lot of different ways to play this game. So yeah, this is my first one-shot homebrew one-shot video. Just hope like I said, check the Reddit link. Will link you to all the the write-up and all the stuff and specifics on how I ran it and what I did and how you guys can make add to yourself. So I hope that is helpful. We are Omniverse Gamers. Like, subscribe, and all that jazz. I got a couple more one-shots like this and some campaign expositions that I want to spread out so I can give you guys how I wrote a bunch of campaigns that you could maybe mold or you get for ideas. So have a great day. Hope to see you soon, and keep on gaming.